steroids has become the word for fitness supplements. We're going to have to come up with another word for all of this. So if steroids is fitness supplements, we're going to have to call steroids, I don't know, ass plugs or something like that. Let's go. Time for the Bodybuilding Hey-ho here. Thank you very much for joining me as always. If you are watching this the day it goes live, it's Christmas time, it's the holidays, it's Hanukkah, it's Kwanzaa, it's whatever you decide to celebrate. Maybe you don't believe in any of that and you're sat down going, I hate this time of year. You're allowed to do that, but make sure you keep some joy in your heart and a smile on your face. Now, today, I thought we should just go back to what is probably going to happen to a lot of you during your family occasions, because this is what will go down. You will go to see your mum, your dad, your grandma, your brother, your niece, your auntie, whoever it may be, and they will see that you're still lifting weights, and they will say the same things they have said to you 1,000 times that makes you want to die. So that's right. Just in case you're not aware, and this is your first Christmas, or whatever you want to call it, after you started in the Fitness Palace of Love, here are 10 phrases you have to start suffering through when you begin lifting weights. Number 10, what are you going to do when that muscle turns into fat? This has been going on for like 50 years. Now, I've been training for like a good 15 years, so I definitely know that chunk of time is absolutely assertive, and it's just so annoying. So this is what's going to happen to you. It's always like a cousin. It's always like a cousin second removed, and they come up to you and they go, oh, well, I see you're going to the gym now and you got lots of muscles. But what are you going to do when you stop going to the gym and you stop eating and all of a sudden all that muscle turns into fat? Now, one, you want to go, why am I going to stop going to the gym? That's like me saying to you, when are you going to stop being so annoying? Because every time I see you, you're really annoying, and that's never changed. But also, why do they even care? What does it even tie into? Now, obviously, the big problem with it is that scientifically, it's absolutely gibberish. In case you don't know this, and some people don't, because there is a lot of nonsense on the internet, that's where it comes from. Muscle can't turn into fat, and fat can't turn into muscle. These are two completely separate things. That would be like me saying, I'm going to turn this microphone into a pizza. Not going to happen. They're made up of different molecules and different chemicals. And of course, the reason where this comes from, where the actual seeds have been planted, is that when you do stop lifting weights, if you just, why would you do that to begin with? But if you did, you carry on eating the same food, right? That's what a lot of people do. They maintain their sort of super high calories, and because they're not exercising anymore, they put on fat. And the reason they lose muscle is because they've stopped stimulating the damn thing. They are two separate paths. They're two separate directions. But then all of a sudden, we have just decided, no, these two are absolutely together. And it works the other way as well. They go like, oh, you're going to turn that muscle. Sorry, the other way around. I can't even do it now. You're going to turn that fat into muscle. If only it was that way. And we're actually going to talk about this stuff later on. But if only you could just stuff your face and then lift weights. Do you know the joy that would bring to my body? So yeah, when they do say this, just do what I've done. You go, I guess I'll just lift weights forever. Number 9, you just look fat to me. So we are remaining on the fat train, but again, I'm just going through things that I've had to experience throughout my life. And admittedly, this mostly came from my grandparents. Rest in peace, they're no longer here with us anymore, and bless their hearts. But when I was bulking up and I was trying to put on weight, maybe every now and then I went too far in the wrong direction, but I certainly wouldn't call myself obese. My granddad especially would go, well, you say you lift weights, but to me, you just look fat. And that information hits you, and you're like, okay, I'm dieting. I'm not really eating the things that I would want to eat, especially if I decided to have an obese physique. And, you know, I'm kind of putting a lot of time into this. I'm getting my sleep and I'm taking my supplements. And you, Mr. Oldtimer, have decided to just absolutely destroy my confidence with one fell swoop. And this does happen. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tie it into number 8 right now, because this is like a game of tennis. So you do then decide to lean down. You do decide to get ripped. You think, you know what? I'm going to have 8% body fat. That's what I'm going to do. And then you see the same granddad. You know what the granddad says? Well, you look really small now. Why'd you lose all that muscle? And it's like, do I have to whip my top off to show you what I'm going to do here? And sadly, this is just something that you're going to have to go, you have to go and experience when you do lift weights. If you put on a bunch of muscle and you go a certain way and you are carrying a bit of timber, some people just say that. And then when you do get lean to the point if you whipped your top off, a bunch of people go, oh my gosh, like they used to back in Saved by the Bell when AC Slater did it. They can't see as much muscle through clothes, so they don't think you're lifting weights anymore. It is a lose-lose situation, which actually kind of ties into the bigger picture, because do not forget, as soon as you start going to the Fitness Palace of Love, you just got to do it for you. You're only in competition with yourself. Don't worry about your granddad or anybody else. It doesn't even matter who it is. Even if Chris Bumstead, you know, Mr. Olympia or Mr. Olympia Classic, whatever he does, knocked on your door, you cannot worry about him either, because these comments are always going to filter through. But if you know you're doing the right stuff and you know you're doing it in the right way and you know you're doing it because you want to do it, doesn't matter what anybody says. But you're still going to get these two. Apparently, even though you're smashing it in the gym, you both look fat and you look really, really thin. Number 7 is an interesting one, but I got it a lot. It is, do you think you'll regret all these decisions when you're older? Now, they are referencing the fact that maybe you have given up nice food. I like the word given up. You've chosen to do it. You're embracing a healthy lifestyle. Or the one that always happened to me was I gave up alcohol. Now, I didn't necessarily give up alcohol for lifting weights. So that was a happy extra. I just didn't like it very much. But I think I've told this story before. I won't mention the girl's name. She said this to me when I was 16 years old. And at that point, we shouldn't have been drinking anyway. So we must have been a bit older. It doesn't matter. And she said that to me. She said those words to me. Do you think you'll regret all these decisions when you're older? Because as far as she was concerned, I was limiting myself too much and I was sacrificing too much for this other endeavor I was going for. And for the last, 18 years or whatever it's been, that long, something like that, I've always said to myself, wait a minute. So you're telling me the better path to take is to eat a bunch of drunk, take a load of drugs, drink a bunch of booze, and then we'll pat me on the back and go, that's a life well lived. Now, I'm going to say this. If you do choose to live your life that way, more power to you. I want you to be safe, and I want you to protect yourself, because nobody needs to have a good time and end up in a box. What's the point of that? But that's just crazy to me. That's the way we see it. Oh, you're going to the gym, and you're eating well, and you like broccoli, do you? What a loser. What a nerd. Now, this was a long time ago, and fitness is far more prevalent and far more popular than it was then. But these people still exist. It's not like I haven't had more of this over the last few years. I have. So you got to keep an eye out for them. And of course, usually it's because they want to be healthy too, but they don't know how to do it. So they're just going to try and drag you down. Number 6 is, do you just eat chocolate cake all the time? Now, this one may not happen as much anymore because, again, the education about bodybuilding and weightlifting have certainly increased over the last few years. But when I was first bulking, so I was like a 20, 21, 22-year-old man with a lovely head of hair, and that went away, I would obviously eat a lot of calories. Now, I know a bit more now, but back then, the idea very much was you eat a huge calorie surplus to put on muscle, and then you go into a calorie deficit when you want to get ripped up. So I was probably eating too much. That's a fair thing to say. But somebody once said to me, they said, how many calories you're eating? And I said, random figure, 4,000 calories. They said, do you just eat chocolate cake all the time? And for about 5 minutes, I just did this. Because I couldn't believe that was the first thing that came into their head. They just thought it was any kind of calories. Eat whatever kind of calories you want. Also, I wouldn't pick flipping chocolate cake. I'd pick pizza. Because as we know, we want to make love to pizza. But I didn't even know what to say because I didn't want to be patronizing. I didn't want to be rude. But I also wanted to say no, because if chocolate cake was able, this is the whole fat into muscle thing. If chocolate cake was able to get you jacked, everyone would be jacked. Because we'd all be walking around eating whatever diet we chose, and then everybody stimulates their muscle a little bit. If you don't stimulate their muscle, it actually stops working. So we'd all be jacked people. But I didn't know how to say that without sounding like an asshole. So I think I just went, yeah. I love chocolate cake, especially with whipped cream. So bizarre. Happened to me recently too. I was eating some rice porridge. Now, admittedly, my rice porridge is weird because I mix in like powdered greens and all this other stuff. And I'm using egg protein at the moment because I just quite like it. And also I'm lactose intolerant, blah, blah, boring, doesn't even matter. And somebody thought it and thought I was eating chocolate mousse. It's like, if only I can eat chocolate mousse. Now, actually, there are some good recipes out there for protein mousse. But just always remember, as much as you think other people know about this, well, some don't. Number 5 is my favorite. We've done it once. We're going to do it again, which is, oh my gosh, you're eating a sandwich. This happened to me when I used to work in an office. Now I get to work in this wonderful PlayStation room that is definitely 100% real, and I didn't green screen it at all. But every now and then, I'd have all my diet with me, my pasta, my chicken, my rice, whatever it may be. And you just think, I've had a hard day, it's lunchtime, today I'm just going to have a sandwich. You're allowed to take your foot off the pedal here and there. You don't have to do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like maybe the 0.1% can do that. The rest of us, you're going to burn yourself out and the diet's going to get a lot worse. Sometimes your body says, have a sandwich, go and have a sandwich. So I got my sandwich. Wasn't even that much of a bad sandwich because I went to a sandwich shop which just give me bread and chicken in bread. Thank you very much. So you could even call it chicken bread. And somebody from across the office went, oh my gosh, Simon's having a sandwich. Like, this was hell opening its gates and inviting people in. I was like, why can't I have a sandwich? Why does this have to become an event? And of course, their whole thing was, but you never eat stuff like this. Have you stopped going to the gym? Are you abandoning your diet? I'm like, no, I'm having a sandwich. I mean, maybe I'll just balance my calories out for the rest of the day. But people are obsessed with this stuff, and I don't get it. And I suppose it's because, in many ways, when you do have such a strict diet, all of a sudden that becomes your affectation, right? That's the thing people associate you with. So as soon as you break it, they probably think, I knew he wasn't able to continue with this all out through his life. And say, well, that's not true at all. I just decided to have a little bit of a snooze on it, and we're literally talking for 15 minutes. But I think I've only ever had that one once. Maybe a few times when I go family stuff too. But clearly it's stuck with me because we have talked about this on other videos. People have messaged me about that comment saying they had that too. So Now I'm just going to run it into the ground. Have a flubbing sandwich. Number 4, I'm sure you've all experienced too, is creatine steroids. Now, I've just said creatine. I'm English, so I say creatine, because if I say it that way, people don't get mad at me in the comments. You just have to forgive my accent. We've all had this, right? First time I went on creatine, whatever, my parents were like, I cannot believe you're taking these steroids. And I was like, what, the steroids I bought from Holland and Barrett? Which is a nutrition shop like GNC over in America. I was like, yeah, they're just throwing out the steroids. But I didn't know what to tell them, because you try and explain, well, what does it do? Well, it makes you stronger. Steroids make you stronger. It doesn't actually make you stronger. It's like, what else does it do? Well, it gives you more energy. Steroids give you more energy. And of course, my dad was super into sports. And you're not actually meant to take creatine in certain sports because it is considered a performance-enhancing drug, because it will enhance your performance. But you have creatine in you. This is completely different than sticking a needle in your ass. But it was a lose-lose situation. And as soon as my dad has said it, my mum's like, steroids? I'm like, how have I got here? How am I being blamed for something? Also, apparently, my parents are a couple of cartoon characters, which isn't actually that far from the truth. Just go in there with scientific facts, all right? And if you need some kind of PowerPoint presentation, I would strongly advise you make it right now. And this carries on too, because in at number 3 is whey protein steroids. It's the same thing. It's just powder. And they don't understand where this powder has come from. Now, once again, it's far more popular now, so you don't get this. But I still know certain people that thinks whey protein is steroids. This makes no sense to me. Like, if whey protein was steroids, how would it be so easily accessible? And why would the government be taxing it? Can you imagine that? Right, so yeah, we've made steroids illegal, but also we'd like to tax the things you can buy rather than shut it down. I don't think that's going to fly. But essentially anything in a tub and anything that looks like anything bodybuilding relating is just steroids. Steroids has become the word for fitness supplements. We're going to have to come up with another word for all of this. So if steroids is fitness supplements, we're going to have to call steroids, I don't know, ass plugs or something like that. Ass plugs already exist too. You see, it's a lose-lose situation. And it also ties into number 2, do you do steroids? This is what everyone's going to ask you, right? No matter what kind of physique you have, even if you don't think you're that big, you will be bigger than the average bear, right? If you put on a little bit of muscle mass, and most people don't do that, you are in the minority when it comes to it. People look at you and straight away and go, well, I don't care what he's lifting. I don't care what his diet is. I don't care what his sleep pattern is. I don't care how dedicated he is. He's obviously doing steroids. And they will ask you this, and you say no. And they go, yes, you are. So, oh, why'd you ask me? What was the point of that? What a waste of all of our life. You asked me a question that you'd already decided the answer of. I may as well just tell you I am. This is why when John Cena said that, there's no point me giving you an answer because you've made up your mind. Now, there's something else we could talk about there, but we're not going to do about it today. But everybody is going to think this, and I mean it. Even those people out there right now that actually think they're quite small, not to some people you're not. Go and find any other kind of celebrity that gets in non-steroid shape. I'm talking about the people that drop a lot of weight or they get some abs. You look at them and it's perfectly attainable. Every single person in the comments on those TMZ type websites like, oh, I can't believe they went on steroids. You're like, all they did was lean up a little bit. You could do that by not eating as much food. So as soon as you pick up that first weight and as soon as you start to develop, this is what you're buying into. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Number 1 is the worst one in the world, and that's when someone comes up to you and they want to start on the fitness palace of love, and they say, yeah, I kind of want a physique like yours, but a bit bigger. You're like, Mother Hubbard, a bit bigger? Do you know how much effort I put into this? I put in 20 years of effort. All these things we're meant to do, and this is the best size I can get, and you think you're just going to waddle into the gym and be able to put on more size than me. Now, some people are going to be able to do this because they have better genetics. You've got to throw your hands up. But the fact they are disrespecting you to this degree is not cool, it's not kosher, and it shouldn't be happening, especially over Christmas time. The reason it's at number 1 is because that's what I've had people say to me the most. I'd like to look like you, but a little bit bigger. Do you think I want to be bigger? Of course I want to be bigger. Everybody wants to be bigger. Even Mr. Olympia wants to be flipping bigger, but there's only a certain amount of muscle you can put on, even when you are doing other stuff. It doesn't matter, right? Whether you're natural or non-natural, eventually there is always going to be a plateau, an obstacle, a curveball where you're like, I cannot do any more with this. And that's maybe when you try and get lean, or you maybe try to increase your cardiovascular function, whatever it may be. But this schmo still thinks all they need to do is go to the gym and push it a bit more, and they'll absolutely smash you. And the sad thing is, that individual does exist. And the law of averages also states that this individual has said that to someone, got in the gym, and in 6 weeks been bigger than that person. But you know what this ties back into? Again, doing it for yourself. And that is what is going to be the theme of this video. You do not need to worry about anybody else. Screw them. Who cares what they look like? Who cares what they do? Get yourself in the best shape you can do, then give yourself a pat on the back like Barry Horowitz. Also, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the bell ding ding so whenever it's going live. There will be a video on the screen. Please do give it a click. Otherwise, grillofmine.com. Use the code Simon. Get 10% off. There is a link down there. But again, if you are going to buy some supplements, I use these. I think you're great. If you use the code, I get a little bit of a kickback, which helps me, helps the channel. Totally up to you, though. Also on patreon.com/Simon316. If you want to support me on there, social media at Simon316. T-shirts are also in that description. You can get my Fitness Palace of Love tee with Samson Athletics. And you can get my pro wrestling tees at prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. And the hardest part of the ring tee went up recently, so that's very, very cool. On Cameo, if you want a holiday shout out, been doing loads of those recently, and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. And I think that's it. So brace yourself for the barrage of comments over Christmas time. But I can do it, you can do it, we do it together.